All right, let's talk about something we all dread but know is inevitable: system failures. I mean, we pour everything into building robust systems, but they still break. The real question is, what happens in those first few moments after everything goes dark? Today, we're diving into how the best teams out there turn that sheer chaos into a controlled, effective, and, believe it or not, an educational process. Now, just so you know, this is part 5 of a bigger 6-part series. It's all based on major network and system failures, lessons from the last decade. We're laser focused on chapter 5 today, which is all about incident response and recovery. So we're assuming the failure has already happened. The big question is, what now? So picture this, right? Your critical service just goes dark. A red alert is screaming, your dashboards are just a sea of red, and the pressure is instantly on. That first minute, man, that can be the difference between a tiny blip that nobody remembers and a full-blown catastrophe that makes the news. What you do right then is absolutely everything. Okay, so here is how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about accepting that failure is just a part of life. Then, we'll jump into those frantic first minutes. After that, we'll cover how to communicate when everything's chaotic. Then, the most important part, learning from it all. And finally, how to get ready for the next one. Because, let's be honest, there's always a next one. First things first, we gotta have a major mindset shift. Look, prevention is great. We all try for it. But in the crazy complex systems we run today, 100% uptime is, well, it's a fantasy. So the real test of a great organization isn't that they never fail, it's how fast and how well they bounce back when they do. And this quote it nails it. The initial bug, or the fried piece of hardware, that's just the spark. The real damage, or the lack of it, comes from how you respond. A team that's a well-oiled machine can contain a problem, but a team that's in chaos, they're just gonna pour gasoline on the fire. All right, let's get into the thick of it, those critical first minutes. We're in the heart of the crisis now. The clock is ticking like crazy, and every single move matters. This isn't about finding the deep root cause yet. This is triage. This is about stopping the bleeding now. So, it all comes down to this 4-step dance. 1, your alerts have to fire instantly. 2, you need tools that help you figure out where the problem is, and fast. 3, you gotta isolate that broken part so it doesn't poison everything else. And 4, you start rerouting your users around the wreckage to get as many people back online as possible. You know, one of the coolest ideas here is this thing called graceful degradation. It's the total opposite of an all-or-nothing system. Instead of the whole site going down, the system is smart enough to start shedding non-essential features to protect what's most important. You know, maybe the high-res video streaming stops, but hey, people can still send messages. It's a lifesaver. Okay, we've talked a lot about tech, but let's be real. An incident is a human problem. Trying to get a bunch of stressed-out people to work together under pressure, that's where things usually fall apart. It's all about bringing some order to the human side of the crisis. And this is how you do it. You define roles before the crisis hits. The incident commander, they're not the one typing commands. They're the director of the orchestra, making the calls. The comms lead handles all the messaging. The tech lead is deep in the weeds guiding the fix. And the scribe, and this role is so underrated, is writing everything down so you can actually learn from this mess later. And your communication has to split into 2 totally different streams. Internally, it's all business, facts, data, coordinating who's doing what. But externally, it's about empathy, transparency, and building trust. You're not giving your customers a minute-by-minute technical breakdown. You're just telling them, hey, we know there's a problem, we're on it, and here's when you can expect an update. Okay, the fire is out, the service is back up, deep breaths all around. For a lot of teams, that's the end of it. But for the really great ones, this is where the real work actually begins. The goal now is to make sure this exact type of failure can never, ever happen again. This right here might be the most important idea in this entire process. It's called a blameless postmortem. See, if people are scared they're going to get fired, they'll hide the truth. A blameless culture starts with the assumption that everyone was trying to do their best and asks a better question. What in our system, our tools, or our training let this person down? That's how you find real fixes, not scapegoats. And a fantastic tool for this is the 5 whys. You just don't stop at the first easy answer. Why did the outage happen? Because of a bad config push. Okay, but why? Why wasn't that error caught? And you keep digging. As you can see here, the real problem wasn't a typo. The real root cause was a systemic lack of documentation. Big difference. Look, A postmortem that doesn't end with a list of action items, that's not a meeting, that's a therapy session. The whole point is to generate concrete, assigned, trackable tasks. You don't just say, we need to improve testing. No, you say, Jane's team will add a dependency check to the deployment pipeline by the end of the quarter. See? That's how you actually get better.
So, you've learned your lesson from the last fire. Awesome. Now what? How do you get ahead of the next one? The final piece of the puzzle is all about actively building that muscle memory and making sure you have the right tools ready to go before the alarms start ringing. You don't get good at responding to crises by reading a book. You have to practice. You can start small with tabletop exercises, basically just talking through a scenario. Then you can move up to chaos engineering, where you intentionally break things in a controlled way to test your defenses. And then there are the full-scale game days, which are basically fire drills for your entire system. And this is your ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. What happens if the network itself is what fails? How do you even log in to fix it? That's where out-of-band management comes in. It's a completely separate, independent network. It's like the secret back door into your own data center that lets you fix things even when the front door has completely collapsed. It is an absolute lifeline.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. A major outage does more than test your tech. It holds up a giant mirror to your company's culture. It shows everyone how you communicate under extreme pressure, whether you point fingers or you learn from mistakes, and if you're truly invested in being resilient. So the real question is your culture ready for that test?